like to call to order the RTA External and Stakeholder Relations and Advocacy Committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Here.
Mayor Biassiata,
Here.
Ms. McPherson,
Here.
and Ms. Welch.
Here.
We have 4 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Okay, great. First thing we have on there on the Community Advisory Committee is a request to appoint 11 members to the CAC. And I think we have several presenters here. Latoya Walker-Minor, Deputy General Manager, Administration and External Affairs, and I'll let you introduce everyone else.
Latoya Walker-Minor, and I'm here with AJ Johnson to present candidates for the CAC. I am presenting this to the on behalf of the External and Stakeholder Relations and Advocacy Committee. Thank you, Mayor Kumar. Good morning. Good morning. Today, we are here to make recommendations to the Board of Trustees on behalf of the CAC. The CAC members are charged with the purpose to make recommendations to the Board of Trustees on fare changes, long-range plan updates, and major or new projects. They will also provide comments on service changes, review, monitor, and recommend service and program improvements or expansion projects to RTA. Their role is also to strengthen relations with the transit community through the development and implementation of public relations campaigns, programs, and events. We had an application that included member qualifications. Those member qualifications included that the persons needed to be 18 years or older, a resident of Cuyahoga County. A CAC member must be familiar with public transportation and preferably use it occasionally, if not frequently, have an active interest in public transportation. The CAC members must also be able to communicate knowledgeably about the authority and public transit in general, reflect our customer base, and have a willingness to make a substantial time commitment. There was a committee selection process. That process included the review of a written application that was reviewed by an ad hoc screening committee. That ad hoc screening committee reviewed the applications, and today we are here to present to the Board of Trustees to make final appointment from the External and Stakeholder Relations Advocacy and Committee, the recommended candidates. The committee composition includes 11 to 15 individuals from diverse communities within Cuyahoga County, selected by application. The terms of the CAC members shall be 2 years staggered. 8 of them will initially have an appointment of 2 years. 3 of them will have an appointment of 1 year. The 4 remaining vacancies will be filled throughout 2024 alongside the 1-year appointments. At this time, I want to turn it over to AJ Johnson to go over a review of our 11 recommended candidates.
Good morning, board members, Chair Lucas, members of the board. The recommended candidates for a 2-year appointment: Brooklyn Burmeister. Brooklyn personally works as an architectural designer for the DLR Group. Brooklyn is a member of the American Institute of Architects, AIA, and the IA of Cleveland. Brooklyn utilizes fixed route service daily. Brian Gibbons. Brian has years of experience representing labor forces, senior management of public media. Yes.
Members, if you're present, would you please come over here? And then when AJ calls out your name, if you could step forward so our chair can see you. Recommended candidates, please, all of you, if you would come over. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it for visibility. It's a little tough to see around the polls here. So we apologize for parading you, but we want to make sure that we see your lovely faces. So upon recognition, AJ, if you could repeat again from the top, and then might be easy if you raise your hand when your name is called. We appreciate that.
Yes. Brooklyn Brumeister. Brooklyn presently works as the architectural designer for the DLR Group. Brooklyn is a member of the American Institute of Architects and the AIA Cleveland. Brooklyn utilizes fixed route service daily. Brian Gibbons. Brian has years of experience representing labor forces, senior management of public media, nonprofit, and government agencies. Brian is currently a member of the Clevelanders for Public Transit and the Northern Ohio's of budget legislation. Brian uses fixed route service 4 to 5 times a week. Charles Kinnick. Charles presently works as a neighborhood development coordinator for the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation. Charles is a member of the Old Brooklyn CDC and the Franklin Clinton Block Club. Charles utilizes fixed route and rail service 2 to 3 times a week. Alicia Howardson. Alicia presently works as the Strategic Partnership Manager for the Cleveland Site Center. Alicia serves on the Cuyahoga County Advisory Committee on Persons with Disabilities and is co-chair of the CCACPD Subcommittees for Transportation. Alicia is a frequent paratransit rider. Lou is a member of the various community organizations, including the Northern Ohio's for Budget Legislation, Adams Board of Cuyahoga County Action Committee, and the Clevelanders for Public Transit. Lou utilizes fixed route and rail service daily. Paul Meissner. Paul personally works as a financial controller for the Real Life Real Estate Group, HSK Management. Paul is a member of the Clevelanders for Public Transit and is a precinct election officer for the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. Paul utilizes fixed route and rail service 2 to 3 times a week. 2-year appointments continued. Jonathan Seek. Jonathan's professional is in management and mobile field workforce within the responsibility of route planning, capacity requirements, communication, and efficiency. Jonathan serves as the board of directors of the Neighborhood Family Practice and is a member of the South Lorraine Block Club. Jonathan utilizes fixed route and rail service daily. Thank you. Cole Ware. Cole serves as an associate for Results for America. Cole is a member of the Cleveland Heights Transportation and Environmental Sustainability Committee, co-founder of the Coventry Neighborhood Group. Cole utilizes fixed route and rail service 3 to 5 times a month. 1-year appointments. Johnny Brewington. Johnny is a retired chief of fire for the village of Woodmere. Johnny has previously served on the Community Advisory Committee and is currently a board member of the Western Reserve Fire Museum and Education Center. Johnny utilizes fixed route and rail service 2 to 3 times a week. Nicole Laird. Nicole personally works as a planner for the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission. Nicole is a member of the American Planning Association and Civic Vision Advisory at Look Up to Cleveland. Nicole utilizes fixed route services daily. And Dr. Joseph Sopko. Dr. Sopko is a retired physician who worked at St. Vincent Charity Hospital for 40 years. Dr. Sopko previously serves on the GCRTA's Community Advisory Committee and is currently president of the Board of Lais Diocese. Dr. Sopko utilizes fixed route and rail services 2 or 3 times a week.
With that presentation, we request that the External and Stakeholder Relations and Advocacy Committee appoint these 11 candidates as members of the Community Advisory Committee.
Any questions from the committee? Any other comments?
Our members, oh wow, good morning, everyone. I'm really excited for your appointments and appreciative of your service and excited to work with you. Question, are the members of the committee compensated for their time?
The committee members are not compensated for their time. However, they will receive with their badges access to ride our public transit.
Thank you.
Yes.
If I may, less of a question, but more of a comment. I just want to say congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much for serving. We're really excited to be able to kind of jumpstart this again post-COVID, if I can say that, right? Just to be able to say this is really great to hear from all of you. Your resumes, I believe, are fantastic. Just to be able to have the experience and the ridership We look forward to having a lot of your voices be heard. We're doing a lot of good things, having a lot of robust programming, and it's great to be able to have the diversity across the county as well. So I appreciate your time, and thank you again.
And I would echo that. I really liked the diversity of the backgrounds of each member. I think that will give a broad base for good input.
Certainly, on behalf of the board, may I welcome you. We're looking forward to this new look for your organization. I've had the privilege of knowing several of you, and I know that you're going to do a great job. I also want to thank the committee for the hard work that they have done to bring us to this point. We're looking forward to seeing you and hearing from you, and please know that this board is willing to be as helpful as possible because we know that you're going to bring us some good recommendations.
So just as information, we will ask you to stick around for a little bit. You'll see that we're a little demanding that way of your time. We have quite a robust agenda today. However, it is our intention to go ahead and swear you in with our legal counsel this morning. We'll do that later on in the program. Where'd you see? Okay. And I'm sorry. Walking in, there we go. Everybody's hiding behind these poles today. So Janet Burney, who I can't see but is down in the corner there, raise your hand. Janet is our general counsel, and she will be doing the duty of swearing you in. We also did the same thing with our COC, which is our oversight for transit police. So you're coming on the heels of that, that body that will also be serving in a civilian capacity to be able to support a lot of the initiatives that we have going on for safety and security. So you are on the operational side from the customer perspective, and you'll also be serving in that regard as well. And we'll make sure to get you all sworn in and kind of sewn up with all of the detail later on today. Reverend Lucas?
Also, it's certainly a privilege to announce that one of our board members will be serving as the liaison person to your group, and that is Ms. McPherson, who's already on the left there. And
Wonderful.
you will enjoy working with her. She's an ardent supporter of public transit, and we're looking forward to this new tie-up that we're going to have. Thank you again for accepting that role.
I'm very excited to work with you all and really appreciative of your backgrounds and your service and the solutions we'll bring to fruition. Thank you.
Are there any final questions from the committee, board members, or management? Okay, with that, motion to adjourn?
We have
We need a motion and a second, Vice Chair. To move.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn?
You want a motion to move forward? Is that what you're asking?
Right, we need a
Yeah, we
motion and a
I
second.
will
to move the
second that.
candidates to the full board.
Oh, sure, sorry.
Okay, so who made the motion, Ms. Welch?
Yeah. Motion to move forward.
And Mayor Kumar, you making the second?
Sure.
Okay. And to the Vice Chair, you want to ask your committee if all are in favor, and if any
Yes.
opposed?
All those in favor?
Yay.
Hey.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Carries.
Congratulations.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Good morning. I'm calling to order the RTA audit. Nope, not me. There we go. Try it again. The RTA Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee. At 9:38. Roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss. Ms. Welch.
Here.
You have 4 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Fantastic, thank you. Today we have two agenda items in our committee. The first is the quarterly management report. The second will be the traction result reporting. Ms. Birdsong Terry, the podium is yours for our quarterly management report.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Trustee Biassiata. And we will move forward with our third quarter 2023 report. You should have a copy on the dais as well. For those of you in our audience, I appreciate the time. Due to us with a little bit of the snow delay this morning, I will keep it at a very high level so that we can continue with the agenda. Of course, I'm happy to answer any questions as well. For our third quarter, our general fund total revenues were nearly 3% higher than budget. And you can see the breakdown in front of you here under passenger fares, sales and use tax, and other revenues, all higher than budgeted. And also, we have operating expenses nearly 2% lower than budget. And this, of course, is due to fuel hedging. It continues to help stabilize costs. We had a lot of questions before as to how do we compare with the market. We actually have our utility manager who is also available to answer any questions, Natalie Urwick, and then also taking into consideration personnel costs that are nearly 1.5% lower than budget as well. All has to do with our reduction in overall operating expenses for the quarter. Overall, doing very well. Again, we wanted to be able to give you an update about our commitment to our rolling stock reserve. That is our replacement for all of our rail cars, all of our fleet on the rail side. We continually committed to putting $10 million into that reserve. We've committed to doing that. It's on our KPIs. We report that to you each quarter, and we have made good on that promise. We also have what's called a 27th pay. We're able to answer questions for those of you that might be new information. It comes around every now and again. We have nearly $900,000 in 27th pay in the reserves, and that's a transfer that we make sure that we are in the black, so to speak, in that regard, so that we don't have any hiccups throughout the year, and the quarter is looking good in that regard. Bond retirement fund, $4.5 million has been transferred, and capital improvement, a little bit over $6.5 million transferred for that as well. We're staying afloat regarding the projects that we have in the pipeline for our capital expenditures, and the third quarter, again, is looking well. Just wanted to be able to end the financial report with a little bit of a snapshot regarding the kind of buckets of activity that we have the capital expenditures per category for the third quarter of 2023. And you can see here in the blue is where we have the highest activity with rail projects, facilities, and bus leading the way. And a lot of that is our replacement program that we have going to make sure that we continue in a good state of repair, especially as we end up in the winter months. The third quarter is primarily important for that. We are having a lot of conversations with our manufacturers on the bus and rail side to make sure that we are in compliance through our auditing procedures and also through our Buy America as we continue to push the envelope as far as the inventory to make sure that those deliverables are meeting our standards and our timelines according to our original discussions of delivery. So we do have a little bit of a delay in certain areas. However, our paratransit vehicles are coming back online, and as well as some buses that have been kind of in the shop for a while as far as on the manufacturing side. But we do have those capital expenditures allocated, and you can see the areas here in the chart. Also, just as information, a couple of things on the softer side of the report. Again, as a summary, we were awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation by the Government Finance Officers Association, otherwise known as the GFOA. That was a great highlight of our quarter three for 2023. We also had the waterfront line earlier in the year come to an opening for the Brown season. And we also had a lot of robust conversation as far as workforce development and training. The Midwest Leadership Transit Exchange came to us, and we were hosting our sister agencies such as Columbus and Cincinnati and Toledo in a lot of those conversations. We are a leader in our industry for the state for training and workforce development. Also, our Origin Destination Survey has started up. We also are looking forward to getting that information to be able to sustain our continued service planning, delivery metrics, to be able to understand what the workforce patterns of people have become post-COVID. We don't do that survey every year. That's almost a decade in arrears, and so we're looking forward to being able to find that information and update our information as well. We were out in the community quite a bit. We had Touch a Truck. We also had the Union Miles Development Corporation artwork program. that we look forward to expanding. And that, if you recall that one, that was kind of the excellence in African American history, where we had 5 or 6 different shelter artworks by Mr. Soul in the Union Miles neighborhood. And those artworks featured the likes of Stephanie Tubbs Jones, Carl Stokes, Fred Hampton, Harriet Tubman, Malcolm X, and Barack Obama. We also are moving forward with our traction information, and we'll give you a little bit of a snippet on that in the upcoming presentation. We are now headlong into our second year of solid data, if I can say that, to be able to understand what our customer profile looks like, as well as areas of improvement according to the customer need and the agency overall strategic plan. So we'll be giving you a little bit more of that information upcoming, along with myself and Dr. Rubin from TransPro. With that, that concludes my report for the Q3, unless there are any questions.
Just one question, Raj, I'm not sure this is for you or not. The 27th pay, I think that's extremely important.
Yep.
That we are accruing for that. Does that balance represent the whole pay, or are we putting in funds pro rata over the period of time?
It is the 878 is a pro rata portion of the allocation that we're saving up. So the 27th pay happens based on, because we pay on a biweekly basis every 11 or
11
12
years. Yeah, we do the same thing.
you do have a 27th pay. So 870 represents the 1/11th of that.
It does. That's why I was curious.
And once again, it's approximate, because we're not projecting the increases that may occur in the future. It is an estimated amount based on current activity.
Correct, but every 11 years, the way payroll is processed, you just get an extra pay in that period. And from a budgeting perspective, if you're not funding that over the period of time, that's a big nut to crack every 11th year from a cash flow perspective. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you very much. We figured there might be a question on the 27th pay, so we appreciate the interest in that. I will say that the financial division is doing a great job of making sure that we are proactive for these items, and making sure that we've got reserves in place way in advance. Any other questions? If not, we will move forward to the next presentation at the pleasure of the chair.
Hearing none, thank you for the report, and we'll move on to our tracks and results reporting.
Thank you, Mayor Biassiata. I will retain myself here at the podium and ask my co-presenter, Dr. James Rubin, to take the podium with me. We're going to go ahead and delve right into the traction. Again, we'll keep this at a pretty high level. Hi, James, who made it through the snow. We appreciate him all the way from New York City. And we will go ahead and delve into the metrics for our quarterly performance review for fiscal year 23, Q3. I'll go ahead and take the first few slides and then allow my counterpart to go ahead and explain some of the metrics. This is just an overview, excuse me, of some of the metrics by cadence. So you can see by the red "We Are Here" arrow, we're here for the current presentation. However, we come back every 3 months for the board and the public to understand how we're doing on a quarterly basis. So this is a schedule that takes us through mid-year 24. Also wanted to make sure that we note that the next time we come before you, we'll be talking about teeing up the numbers for 24 and the goals and the metrics for the next year. So this is really a recap of the quarter, and then we'll go ahead and give you a summary, a year-end review for the next update and report, and then also talk about some of the buckets of information that will drive us for 2024. We'll cap that with today's presentation. Again, this is really for the benefit of our newer members, our newer trustees. We have this also in your packets. You should have a copy of our customer experience surveys. They are called WAVES, which is basically quarter information, and then the community value survey as well. The Net Promoter Score, again, this is just the way that we base our responses to the question, how likely are you to recommend RTA to someone else? And then the responses are deemed as far as promoters, passives, or detractors. So those are basically our cheerleaders, those that are on the fence, and those that we say, no, I don't recommend RTA. So of course, we want to transfer everybody into the promoter category, and we work to be able to do that. It is on a scale from 0 to 10. We also have the EJ category, or the environmental justice, and here you'll see that this really encapsulates the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people. So that's our DOT, or our transportation kind of oversight, is committed to ensuring that we have accessible and convenient transportation for everyone. So really the accessibility here is the key tenet of success, and they are broken down into transportation zones. You'll see that through the TAS. And this is really talking about minority populations of a certain percentage, and those that are either at or below the poverty line in the area as well. So this helps us be able to understand what our community impact is and our investment is, and how folks look at RTA as being more than just a bus or a train down the road, how we're really investing back into the community and making sure that our service is accessible for all. And this is a great addition to our KPIs. Okay, so getting into the numbers a little bit, we mentioned before the 4 areas, or buckets as I tend to call them, for success outcomes. The 4 are for 2023. You'll see some of the names of these change for next year. We'll go over that at the end, but this is just a recap for the kind of metrics that we're looking at, whether it's an NPS, a Net Promoter Score, a community value score, and the like. You also see the information systems here. This is how we capture the data. So you have your surveys and your reporting and your data coming from human resources. The success definitions are listed here. I won't go through that. You've got that in front of you. But the status is where I want you to direct your attention. For customer experience, we are looking at a combined NPS, or Net Promoter Score, of 25. We have a goal of 29. So we're inching toward that. We're making good headway. Sometimes a lot of this number depends on what happens in the field. So what do I mean by that? If we've got major snow delays, if we've got shutdowns, if we've got reroutes, a lot of that is impacted on the customer experience. So we understand that this number can fluctuate. However, our North Star is to make sure that we hit that 29 goal. And you'll see further in the presentation that we are starting to inch a little closer to that. And the reasons why we'll go into as well. Dr. Rubin will start to talk about some of the initiatives that are getting us closer to what that goal is, and then also what the market dictates. So we understand that our goal is actually competitive with others that are looking at this data in transportation. For community value, you see here, again, the success definition is the goal on the left, and the status is on the right, bolded. So we're at 43% of the community agrees that RTA serves employment. It serves as an employer. So, and that's the community value. So are we actually relevant out there in the market? Do we actually serve as a leading employer in the community? We want to hit 50%. That's our goal. Again, this is not the end all be all, but we've got to have goals that are relevant, that we can actually attain, and then we continue to push those up as the mark gets higher. We are currently at 43%. Again, this is a snapshot. We'll go into detail. 77% of major projects are within EJ communities. Again, I went through that for a reason for EJ, so you understand the value and the accessibility of our product, so to speak, out there in the community. We want to be at 79%. We are close to that goal. A lot of these are in line with timing of capital project closures and how we're actually funded. So you'll see a little bit of that. That goes into the TOD, or transit-oriented development. We know that's a hot topic. There's a lot of different commentary on TOD and how the community should go about doing that. We will go into a little bit of detail about that. We have 2 active TODs right now. Our success definition is 4, but again, a lot of that depends on funding, depends on capital expenditures and availability. We always have a little bit of the political back and forth in TOD as well, and so we like to be able to stay relevant and at the table. And I'm happy to say that our TOD is moving forward in a lot of different areas to be able to make sure that our service is accessible for more communities that maybe we hadn't served before. Also, we have a ratio of private sector investment to RTA, and we are actually exceeding the success definition that we have listed. Financial sustainability. We went over the 10 million transfer. Again, that's into our rail replacement. We have hit the mark on that. And then we look at competitive grants, and you'll see the funding numbers. And again, this might be an interest to a lot of folks. That number is going to fluctuate quite a bit regarding how many grants actually come in and how they close. Mike Shipper, I would say, is probably our guru
for a lot of the grants and as far as the timing. You'll see, for example, $130 million. That is an anomaly that we are super excited about that one, but that pushes us above and beyond what our original goal was at $35 million. But they're always designated in different categories, so sometimes we'll have a little bit of a blip, excuse me. And a lot of those do close out per quarter. So the third quarter, we see a very good report out as well. So you might be looking at a very different number in quarter four. Employee engagement, we wanted to also give you that heads up. We can give you more information if necessary. George Fields is in the back here for HR. But overall, we have an overarching goal of 86% combined for operators, mechanics, and transit police. So what does that mean? We want to make sure that we have an 86% vacancy fill rate. That is where we are right now. If you look to the left, our goal is 95 for the year and 91 for police. We can break that down a little bit more and tell you exactly how we're doing per category, but overall we're at 86%. So we really are striving to be in the 90s, but 86 is where we are, which isn't bad for the third quarter. We still have another 3 months to go to close out the year, and we expect for those numbers to rise continually. I believe at last count we had 60 individuals, 60, in the pipeline for training. George, is that still accurate?
Correct.
Okay, great. And then the non-bargaining, you'll see on the right-hand side, we are at 93%. If you look to the left, our goal is 95. So we're getting a little bit closer, and those positions are those non-bargain for administrative positions that we have. So those are the lawyers, those are the engineers, those are the administrative folks, those are the analysts that we make sure that we need to fill, the accountants. We still have a little ways to go, but we are getting quite closer to our goal as well. So with that, I believe the next slide will be handed over to Dr. Rubin.
One question on the prior slide, just for clarification.
Yes.
When you talk about under customer experience, the combined NPS of 25, is that just the different surveys for fixed bus route, rapid transit, BRT, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. And weighted by ridership as well. So 70% of your ridership is fixed route bus. So that agency-wide NPS will be, 70% of that will be based on the NPS score for fixed route bus. Okay, I apologize for having my computer in front of me, just not the greatest vision today. And also, please, thank you for having me in front of you, board. I know we're in transit, so bad weather is often bad news for us, but as someone from out of town who walked here from my hotel, I can tell you your city is particularly beautiful in the snow. Looking at the organizational scorecard 2023, we're going to call that an A-, 91 points out of 100. And you can see on the chart here what's changing from quarter 2 to quarter 3. So we have 4 success outcomes: customer experience, community value, financial sustainability, and employee engagement. And you could see the goal points there in the second column, and you could see the actual points earned for quarter 3 all the way on the right. Those big green arrows mean we saw some increases from quarter 2 to quarter 3 in points, both on customer experience and community value. Both of those went up, which drove the overall points up from 89.7 to 91. We'll look at exactly why that happened in a minute. Less than a minute, really a second. So first, let's take a look at customer experience. That's that first category there, accounting for 35 points, and we get a 29.2 total. What went up and what went down? First, Net Promoter Score, right? We saw that agency-wide Net Promoter Score creeped up to 25. That is great news, so we have an improvement there. Let's continue on with the good news. The safe, secure riding and waiting impression. Customers' perceptions of their safety and security when riding went up from 59% on our last round of surveying to 63% on this round of surveying, as did vehicle cleanliness impression, 51 up to 55. We saw some slight decreases here. Overall customer satisfaction went down. We'll talk about that in a minute because we had NPS go in one direction and customer sat go in another. Hold thoughts on that. 68 to 67, we're not too worried about a 1 percentage point change in impression. Actual on-time performance, a tick down from 83% down to an 80. Thus, that's the other decrease there. Looking at community value, you can see that customer perception, access to employment. So we have updated community value numbers here for you this quarter, which means we did a round, you guys did a round of surveying of your community. I'll remind you that's folks throughout the entire community, not just transit users. Typically on these surveys, you only see about 7, 8, 9% of the respondents are regular transit users. So we have updated results there, and a really nice result here is that from a community perspective, RTA providing access to employment went up from a 32% to a 43%. Big jump there. Ratio of private sector investment to capital investment, also an improvement. Improvement meaning going down here to 8.87 from 9.3. And this capital dollars invested in EJ zones, we heard that definition from an 87 down to a 77%. This is very much explained really by a switch track out at Brook Park, at the Brook Park facility that is technically not within the EJ zone. So that's why you see the change here from 87 down to 77%. These zones are drawn very, very specifically, and the switch track happens to be not within the zone. Moving on to financial sustainability, we could see a nice improvement in competitive capital grants from a 145 last quarter up to 157. This $12 million improvement is a competitive ODOT grant that you guys procured and won for some rail cars, so good news there. And we could see a slight uptick in your cost per service hour from 171.60 up to 172.31. That a slightly worse result from quarter two, but very close in that result as well, giving it 4.8 out of 5 there. Employee engagement, some improvement in the vacancy fill rate. As India told you, we're up to 86%. Our goal is 91. We have the breakdown for each of these subcategories. In fact, I have it right here in front of me. We have... for operations, 86%. For mechanics, operators, 86. Mechanics are at 82, and police are at 94. These are numbers as of October. All the other numbers here, we don't show any change from quarter 2 to quarter 3, so we'll consistent points across from one to the other. So now I want to take a turn and talk about some of the customer survey results from this past September. Before we jump into them, I just want to remind folks that when you guys had folks out there collecting this information, the light rail system was down. So when you see rail results, those are going to be results exclusively from Redline customers. You may also see results throughout the survey that might have been light rail customers who are using bus, so some of the bus results might have an influence of those folks as well, just for everyone's knowledge there. So moving into the first piece of good news, Net Promoter Score. This is really what we use as an industry standard for measuring how customers feel about transit. As India pointed out, this is how likely people are to recommend transit to their friends and family on a 0 to 10 scale. What we're looking for here are 9s and 10s. Those are our wins. That's what we call promoters. In the world of Net Promoter Score, a 6, a 7, and an 8, you know, they're okay, but that's not a win for the agency, right? The 9s and the 10s are what we call promoters. And you could see that the percentage of people who are promoters has improved. We subtract the 0 through 6 percentage from the percentage that give you 9s and 10s. That's what ultimately gets your Net Promoter Score. And that's on a range of -100 to +100. Folks sometimes forget that there's a negative side to Net Promoter Score. We've seen transit agencies with negative Net Promoter Scores. There's no question about it. So here you could see an improvement from a 20 to a 23 on fixed route bus. Again, that's 70% of your ridership, so double good news there, a big portion of your ridership and an improvement in Net Promoter Score. Even better, it represents the second quarter in a row of improvement in Net Promoter Score and reaffirms the tremendous improvement from Wave 5 to Wave 6, which went up by 10. So we could really look at 13-point improvement from Wave 5, March 23, through the most recent survey in September 23. Super good news there. We have a lot of reasons why we think this is happening. We'll get to that in a minute. The question here is overall satisfaction, which is ticking down on fixed route bus. Different measure, right? This is not 0 through 10, would you recommend? This is overall how satisfied are you on a 1 through 5 scale, whereas the 57% represent the number of people who are giving a 4 or a 5, satisfied or very satisfied. What we think is happening here is there's some play here with the neutral category, which is 3. You're seeing some spillover into 3s for people who were 4s, who were 5s. It's a decent measure. It's not as good a measure we find as Net Promoter Score. So we want to track this. We want to look at this over the next quarter. My hunch is that it will stabilize, if not rebound right up to us at 65 level. But it's also well within a margin of error here of plus or minus 5% on both measures. So we're not super concerned about that. We do want that to tick up back closer towards that industry average of 82. Net Promoter Score for Bus Rapid Transit ticked up as well from 13 to 21, kind of matching a similar improvement around fixed route bus. It's a slightly better improvement. The thing that's a bit of a question here around Bus Rapid Transit is the continued decrease in overall satisfaction amongst customers on Bus Rapid Transit. We could see that quarter over the last 3. We could see a drop there. What we do know is that your leadership team is actively engaged in ideas on how to turn this around. I don't think the results are in yet, and I'll leave it to them since they're the experts in this area. But I do know that your folks are engaged in this and looking at this very carefully. Net Promoter Score for rail. So again, you're looking at a 28, a 6-point improvement with some note here that this is not including light rail. So good news there on the rail front, 22 up to 28. And overall satisfaction, again, ticking down 66 to 58, but within our margin of error. We're going to want to monitor this over the next couple of quarters to see where this goes. Again, I think that 58 is going to rebound up to a 66 at least the next time we do surveying, which I believe will be in the next couple of weeks. Paratransit continues to hover substantially above industry average of 50 for Net Promoter Score. It did go down from a 70 to a 63, within a margin of error there, still substantially above the industry average. Paratransit customers, for the most part, are more satisfied. You could see that here for overall satisfaction. We don't see a dramatic change there. And agency-wide NPS, this is, again, the combination of all of those individual services weighted by ridership. You could see the increase from 21 to 25. That's what we're reporting, creeping up to that industry average of 39, and a steady improvement from Wave 5 through Wave 6 through Wave 7. These are just what we call key drivers. So what we ask on these surveys with customers is what's important to you and how satisfied are you? So these are the attributes that customers are reporting, your customers are reporting, are most important to them by the service, right? So a red box indicates it's important to customers and they'd like the satisfaction to be higher. In other words, it's important to customers, satisfaction is lower. A green box here means it's important to customers and satisfaction is higher. We call those strengths to maintain, in the red with the satisfaction being lower, we call those opportunities to improve. So you can see wave over wave, through all 7 of these waves of surveying, and particularly focus on the last 3 or 4 waves, Wave 4 through Wave 7. There are some consistent, important attributes that customers are generally speaking less satisfied with compared to their overall satisfaction level. Things like on-time performance, bus cleanliness, safety on board vehicles, and safety while waiting for vehicles, you could see are consistently red, meaning these are important attributes to customers and they're below average satisfied compared to some of the other attributes that you guys ask on your survey. Things that customers like that are important to them are travel time. You could see lots of green there. Convenient routes, lots of green there. Span, the time in which vehicles operate, some green there. So that's for fixed route bus. Let's look at Bus Rapid Transit results. Similar stuff here. You could see the last couple of waves, on-time performance, bus cleanliness, safety on board, and safety while waiting, all important to BRT customers with slightly lower levels of satisfaction, with the exception of on-time performance, which in waves 5 and in our most recent wave had above average satisfaction, meaning it went from something to try to improve to something that you want to maintain the current level that you're at, which is good news there. Travel time, convenient routes, and span for bus rapid transit, all things that customers feel more positive, more satisfied with, which are important to them. Rail, similar story here. Train cleanliness, safety on and while waiting are attributes that customers feel are important, but they're less satisfied with. On-time performance for rail is an attribute that customers think is important, that they are satisfied, above average satisfaction with, a strength to maintain. Convenient routes and span, the hours in which service operates, are also important to rail customers, and they are above average satisfaction. I want to pivot to Doc for a little bit of information on what we're looking at here.
Good morning, Reverend Lucas, members of the board, and for those at home, I'm Flonse Caver, the Chief Operating Officer here at the Greater Cleveland RTA. Just wanted to talk about these key driver analysis and some of the projects and programs that we're doing to be able to turn those red items to green. And so we know throughout this time that we've been conducting these quarterly surveys that the top three areas for our customers are on-time performance, train cleanliness, and safe while waiting and safe while riding the vehicle. They consistently are among the top areas. And so you'll see some support that we continue to drive on-time performance, and you see in some of the modes, those are green areas. But we do continue to monitor those items. We monitor those items daily with our service quality group, and they continue to work with Joel's team to make corrections or to make changes when there's a necessary process, when there's a need to be able to make sure that a bus route is online through our technical scheduling. As it relates to cleanliness, we continue to drive programs to clean on the rail system. We've done several things to try to drive that. We've increased cleanliness in the shop, but also increased intra-day cleanings. And so throughout weekdays, we clean trains at the end of the line at Windermere so that the person who gets on the bus at 11 a.m. doesn't see a train that appears to be dirty, that was dirtied during the morning rush hour. But I'd like to also talk about some of the things that we found nationally. So this safe while on and while waiting is a key driver to bringing people onto public transit. Some of you may think of large cities, Philadelphia, New York City, how people feel about waiting for trains and buses. And so we work with our chief of police. There's a bi-weekly meeting with the chief's command staff and myself to look at ways to increase the safe while on and safe while waiting. And I'll share with you a few programs that we've added over the last few quarters to be able to increase the perception of safety while waiting and while on our vehicles. So while on our vehicles, we've changed the process while on our vehicles where traditionally our police would be at a station or driving through the city and kind of just wave at the bus driver. Everything's okay. We take that look. Well, the chief and her team now have a program where we will actually have the police officer go a few stops in front of the bus, get out of the car, and walk through the bus randomly. This provides several views of safety, one for the operator who sometimes feels alone on some of our streets and in our neighborhood, so they could actually talk to the operator, ask the operator, are things okay? And get a feel for what's happening on the vehicle. But the other places that other customers are then able to see that the police are around and are near, and that kind of helps us. And so we track that every 2 weeks. There's a report that's given to me that lets me know where and when our team has been out on our bus ride checks. In the waiting environments, we also continue to drive police presence as well as our ambassador presence while in our waiting environments. We do recognize that depending upon where you are, the homelessness issues that we have can make people feel unsafe while waiting. And so our team goes out with a considerate hand to be able to both make people feel safe while waiting, but also to treat those folks who are going through trauma with dignity as we try to move them out of our stations. And so there are several programs that we're looking at to drive these. We continue to work on them. We continue to be advocates for safety on our service. We believe that both safety and cleanliness will be the drivers that will be able to change these from red to green.
And you know, just a little bit of context on the safety and security piece. You know, this is an issue that, from a benchmarking perspective, that transit agencies that I work with are facing from not just coast to coast, dealing with it in Honolulu, dealing with it with just about every transit agency across the country. So it's nothing that's unique to Cleveland, but it's reassuring to hear from your leadership that you're addressing the problem. I want to pivot to the community survey, just because. Well, actually, we didn't cover paratransit, so let me not go through that super quickly. Looks a little bit different. Key drivers for paratransit customers are different than key drivers for fixed route, rail, and BRT customers. In particular, on-time performance is extremely important to paratransit customers. A lot of these folks are heading to medical appointments, and they really can't be late. I don't know about you guys, my doctor has that little sign that says if you show up more than 15 minutes, they don't serve you, though I've waited an hour and a half for that doctor. Anyway, on-time performance is extremely important to customers. You could see it's consistently red. That's the one that, you know, in terms of focus on, that's the one to focus on safety on board vehicles, travel time, courteous drivers, all of those things routinely coming back green, which is good news on the paratransit side. I want to just take a few moments talking about the results of your community value survey, which came in recently. Phenomenal results here. Again, this is a community survey, so not everyone is an RTA customer. In fact, I would say fewer than 10% are regular RTA customers on the survey. Really important to understand what the community thinks of the agency and of the service, particularly if you want to attract more of them to use the service. So first and foremost, 97% of the community is aware of RTA. They know what you guys do, and they know what you can provide. And then this is sort of the real excellent knock it out of the park number here. RTA is valuable. 88% of the respondents to that survey said RTA is valuable. Remember, only 10% of them are regular customers, right? So lots and lots of members of the community recognize the value that RTA brings to the community and to people who need the service, and very much feel like it's valuable. I think that number really represents the support of the community, and is a testament to the good work you folks do. What's most important to the community? Providing access to employment, providing affordable transportation options for people with special mobility needs, and mobility to low-income families and individuals. These are the top 4 most important things that RTA provides from the Community Value Survey. So do I want to turn it back over to you for the next schedule coming up? And yeah.
Thanks, James. Appreciate that. Just wanted to harp on this just for a second. It seems on its face like a kind of common sense thing to put up here as far as the value, but I wanted to be able to explain it just a bit from a national perspective and from the perspective of someone who is not originally from Cleveland. The awareness of RTA is bigger than you may think. We sit here and we are very familiar with RTA. All of the folks in the room either take it, work for it, see it every day. But that's not the case in every city in the United States. There are several agencies that do not have the exposure that RTA has in the community. So this is something that I like to be able to keep track of to understand what our impact is on the community and how many folks actually know we exist. It is an interesting thing when you tell someone who you work for in a city that does not know that they have a public transportation system. It happens more often than you may think. The fact that we have a permanent rail line, a rail line at all, and have a bus network that is visible. Even if you take it or not, you see a bus generally going down the street. Is not something that happens in all downtowns. Is not something that happens in all neighborhoods in a lot of U.S. cities. So I cannot explain, as much as I wish, it's hard to explain how valuable this metric is, and I just wanted to explain that to you. There are very many cities where you go and you go for a conference or you go for a vacation and you never see a bus and you never see a train, and you don't know how mobility works. Cleveland is at 97% for awareness. That's a huge marker for us to be able to keep pushing and making sure that our marketing efforts are working, that our advocacy efforts are working, that our legislators and our community understands that we have a mobility network and we're here, so we'll continue to monitor this, and in my mind, this should always be close to 100%. If this were somewhere around 50%, then our battle is very clear. Then we don't even have a presence in the community and we have to work on this. So I just wanted to kind of explain that and why this is up here, excuse me, as well as the RTA value. Having a system and then feeling that it's valuable is also another marker. And this is something that we should keep track of for future conversations about tax, about referendum, about ballot, about fair. We have to be able to keep this number high to be able to understand that the awareness of the community is that RTA is important and then wants to invest. So just wanted to kind of explain that from a political standpoint so that you understand why this metric is there. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. Excuse me, I apologize for that. Sinus is not my friend today. Going back through this, cadence and schedule, this is looking forward into 2024 so that you understand where we are and when we will come to you so that we stay on task with bringing you the latest information. Also wanted to end here. We typically end there, but we're going to explain this just for a moment and then we'll close. These are the 2023 success outcomes in red and the 2024. These are the 4 buckets or areas, and you'll notice that some of the language has changed. The headers, customer experience remains the same. However, the number has changed. So we've actually gone through the weighting of those, and that's the weighting. So how much of our impact and how much of our focus is going to be put on these 4 areas in 2024. We had a very robust conversation and debate about this, but customer experience remains king. We have put that at 40. It presently is at 35, so we actually wanted to add an additional 5 points to really kind of hit those areas that Doc mentioned before about some of the customer perceptions and their experience aboard our service. We have to continue to put the customer first, and we have to continue to make that experience robust and excellent according to our standards and theirs. Excuse me. So that remains our number 1 for 2024. The second comes community value. I'm sorry, community impact. That's the new word for that. We talked about value versus impact. How does someone on the survey understand what we mean when we ask them what's the value? The impact and how we actually, thank you. Thank you. Are working toward the community is important, and this is the effect and the positive imprint that we have on the community, and we wanted to make sure that people understood that the impact impacts more than just their mobility. It impacts their economics, their accessibility, and their opportunity within the community. That's now at 25. I'm going to skip down to the bottom because as far as numeric, the employee investment, that's not just engagement, because we found that just engaging with our employees is not enough. We want to make sure that they feel that they're supported, that they also feel that their employment is invested in. And that's a difference. That way you think about your career and how you're actually leveling up to where you want to be. That also gets to the item of retainment. How do we retain our bus operators? How do we retain our rail mechanics? How do we retain the accountants and the lawyers and the engineers? We want to make this a quality employer, but we have to think about things, and we'll go through that in a little bit, like the employee resource groups and the benefits package and the salaries and the hours of work and the schedules. All of those things have to come as a package deal, and we're seeing that kind of investment actually pay back in retainment of employees, and we see that through some of the packaging that we're doing with the transit police, for example, of our ability to retain officers and get folks from other agencies that may not be quite as happy. We want to make sure that you're happy here at RTA. So we've actually bumped that up and doubled that from a 10 to a 20. That will be part of our North Star for 2024 to make sure that our workforce and our hiring practices are better than they were before. Financial sustainability is always going to be on this chart. However, again, this is not how important, but this is the amount of effort and focus. We understand that we are doing excessively well right now. We are very stable, and we realize that we want to continue that, but we also realize that we can kind of pull back a little bit and put some of our efforts into the other categories that are lagging behind and keep financial sustainability or financial health on the radar and keep the momentum going. And so that's actually dropped down, for numbers' sake, from 25 to 15. And we'll continue to keep that on the chart as a priority, but we realize that some of our focus has to be shifted to that customer experience and that employee investment. And this is just a little bit of the definition of what actually defines the success. And so I'll leave that to you to kind of read through your packages. Do I have any questions on these particular weightings? That could be, as I believe this is my last slide.
Well, I have questions on going back to the customer experience slide. But maybe if we have questions on the weightings from the committee first, so we don't. Oh, you're already there. It was around page 37. We'll come back to this. It was the rail customer experience.
Okay, we got to go back there a little bit.
Back further, it was the waves.
Gotcha.
There we go. So this is the NPS. Let's go forward. I saw on the rail, this time last year, December 22, we were at 85. Now we're down to 58. An industry average of 86. So there was a lot of data we've seen in the last 20 minutes, but this one stuck out as probably the greatest outlier to me. So what do we think is driving this precipitous drop? And what's our plan of attack?
So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the condition of the rail cars that we currently have, and that's kind of the no-brainer side of it. But delays and actual ability to make service makes a huge difference in the customer's experience. Also, the cleanliness, the perceived cleanliness of the rail car makes a huge difference. If you scrub something that's got rust on it, or you scrub something to death that's got discoloration or any issue that show significant age, it still is perceived as being dirty. And that's a difficult hurdle to kind of jump over when you're dealing with a fleet that is over 40 years old. So I would say a lot of this, and I'm welcome to have our, our operations team weigh in here, as well as our fleet. But a lot of the customer surveys that I have seen, as well as conversations with customers that pertain to perception of clean, actually come down to the age of the car. And then also our ability to be on time and have no delays and no transfers is something that we also deal with. That also comes down to the idea of whether something is smoking. And when I say that, I don't mean a fire. I just mean the ability to actually keep up with the service without a perception of safety issue. A lot of our rail service is not in the best condition. It is safe. However, it is not the gleaming, sparkling car that we all want to see. So that has a huge impact on the customer perception of safe, clean, and on time.
Okay. Ms. Walsh?
Hi. Appreciate all this data. You know, I'm a data nerd, and so this is just all very helpful information, especially as someone who believes that one of our missions on this board is to continue to be brand ambassadors. And so having this information has been great. I have a concern about the customer value survey and some of the data sets that I'm seeing here. So there's 604 surveys that were collected in Cuyahoga County. And I want to preface this by saying I completely understand perception from a public relations standpoint, because it is important that as a body we understand what people think about us. But my concern is that when I'm reading through the customer value survey and we're seeing numbers like 60% of individuals haven't used RTA, or 69% haven't used RTA, or 60% of this data is coming from, I know somebody who has a family or friend, and their perception is that it's not safe and all this other stuff. But then we're looking at this other data set, and people who actually write RTA are saying it's getting cleaner, it's becoming safer. I guess my concern is, one, where we're getting this targeted information from, and why we can't just utilize more data here in this value survey around people who are actually writers. Because I feel like if our writers are not happy with our level of service, that's one thing. But if you just happen to be Joe Schmo who's in the middle of Solon and you happen to write it on a day where you're going to a Browns game, quite frankly, there's a lot going on. We have just witnessed somebody shooting somebody at the Winter Festival that we just had. This is City of Cleveland. This is what happens, right? Versus somebody who continues to ride and show up for RTA every day and seeing the improvements. I would actually argue some of those factors that are red might not even be red if we had more information from writers who are taking this all the time. And so I guess my takeaway from this, or my concern, if you will, is how do we get more people who are writers to be a part of this community value survey? Because I think that is where we get a lot of the questioning from around like safety and from the community around our improvements. And then my other thing that I want to point out is testimonials. Like, how can we see more of the testimonials from our ridership it's present in the actual customer experience, so people have an understanding of how things are versus how things are perceived.
So on your first question, you're right on point there, right? Which is that there's often a disconnect between customers' perception of safety and security and the perception of that from the community on the outside. And your example was right on target, right? One incident can happen in a transit system and it runs in the media, and all of these people who aren't actually using the system have a perception of that. You're not alone in this. In fact, nationally, the TCRP is sponsoring a committee exactly to look at perceptions of safety and security on transit and looking at that disconnect, right? How can we, as an industry, deal with, the press runs an article that says customers think this or that, but really they went out and interviewed 3 individual people, and that's kind of coloring the community's perception as opposed to hearing directly, as you said, from customers who are actually using the system, which is a real experience as opposed to a perceived experience through a media lens. So I think there's a lot to that. I think it's extremely rich. I think there's a lot of best practices that are just now coming out around that. So I think the answer to that is stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of good information on that. The second question was, I'm sorry, just remind me what it was again. I got lost there. Your second
testimonials.
Testimonials.
Like how we can see more testimonials.
We can work perhaps with Natoya to have your survey teams who are out in the field get some what we would call more qualitative results from customers, so that we can have those for you guys to support the data, for sure.
And also, do you have combined data for this? Like, instead of just looking at, I love the individual breakdown of this, but maybe averages of this combined. Like, if there are people on the fixed route and transit or rapid and rail and paratransit, and there's a commonality of safety being high on the list, right? Can we see that average, right? Because I would love to see that average compared to this 609 people who don't take the bus. For sure. Is that available? Is that like something that is possible, or?
Yeah, so I would say yes, the answer is yes. It just takes a little bit of work, which is totally fine, I think, to be able to combine the data that we have. So what I'm hearing, if you correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're asking more of a systemed average.
Yeah,
a combined
system average,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easily, and this is the beauty of having the data at your fingertips, is being able to actually combine it in a way that is to your liking.
Yeah.
I think without us having the base data, our answer would be no. So I would say we'll work on that, and we'll see about being able to provide something to that effect at our next presentation. If I'll be real quick, because I know we're running short on time. I wanted to be able to address some of the things you mentioned about those that take the service and those that don't. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. We want to hear from the actual riders that we have. the choir behind us, right? I think that that's a really good example of hearing directly from the people who take it. And that's part of the reason as well that AJ kind of went through how often the CAC membership is actually utilizing our service. And this is going to be a great, and I hate to put you guys on the spot, but welcome to the team, right? Being able to hear directly from you as kind of that voice for the writer will be able to augment some of what we have. So perhaps what we also need to do is be able to explain to the CAC how this works and be able to kind of have a back and forth about what is the data showing you and then what do you really feel when you're actually taking the system. I think there's a lot of opportunities there to utilize the CAC to really kind of be able to gut check some of the data that we're hearing. And I will say that our team wants the overall experience for RTA to be universal. So whether or not you're taking it for a Guardians game once a year, you should have a great experience the same as someone that has to take it 5 days a week. So we want to make sure that whoever we're asking has an answer that's real and that's honest. So while I understand that we want to make sure that we get the person who depends on it, I would actually qualify that and say, hey, it doesn't matter when you're taking it. You should be able to feel safe, and your expectations are probably going to be a little bit higher if your dependency is less. And that's the North Star that we need to strive to make sure that the person who doesn't have to take it actually wants to, and not necessarily cater to the person who has to, because we all know that sometimes we can slip a little bit when we understand that the dependency is there. And that's a phenomenon of public transit, I think, that has been the bane of our existence for hundreds of years, if I can say that, back to the buggy, right? So if we can actually get everyone to say RTA is awesome for everybody, but I do think I agree. We start with the people who are actually there and make sure that we're not chasing something for someone who doesn't take it but once or twice a year. But everybody's experience should have that same caliber of excellence.
Any other questions or comments?
I did have a question. I think it was on slide 29.
I don't know the number.
Well, I was trying to catch it, see if I get back, and it was just on I was curious of the last item, workforce net promoter score, if you could tell me a little bit more about that. It sort of ties into your goals that you highlighted, and how many employees are surveyed, et cetera. Just an idea, just to learn a little bit more about that metric.
Okay. As far as the workforce net promoter score, I'm actually going to pivot over to George Fields, who's in the back there, because this belongs to HR. So George, if you want to kind of explain the metric that we've got here, and we are holding steady. A lot of this is affected by the surveys that we have coming out, and we're waiting on results for that. So perhaps you want to give a recap of the metric.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Birdsong, Terry, members of the board, Mayor Kumar. The workforce net promoter score, similarly to what you see with the customer score and the community score, the difference between the promoters and the detractors, and you have passive respondents in that survey. We survey our employees once per year, and so the next survey is coming up the first quarter, coming through the end of this year, going through the first quarter of 2024. So the results that you see there, the -3%, is from our last survey that it went from 2022 into the first part of 2023. Essentially, the goal is to be in the positive for sure, and what we're looking for employees to respond on is how do they feel about their experience at RTA, particularly as it relates to how they're trained, how safe and secure they are, what type of interactions they're having with their supervisors and managers, really pivoting back to what Ms. Birdsong Terry talked about with regard to ensuring that employees can have the best possible experience in their journey here at RTA. We do expect that that goal may change after we get our survey results in the first quarter of 2024, but again, that number wants to be positive, or we need that number to be in a positive posture.
Yeah, this could almost be looked at as a human resource quality score, if you think about it that way, right. And that's absolutely correct. How they're treated, how employees are treated, how they're invested in, and how they foresee RTA as a career more than a job.
And just one follow-up, do we have, or is this something, if we don't, for you to consider, do we have comparable scores for other agencies that we would benchmark against? Do other agencies do workforce net promoter score? Because I think it's great that we're going to move from a -3 to a 0, but I'd be interested to understand where we stand relative to our peers.
So some of them do, not all of them. So we can look into that for you. One of the things that's kind of neat is that you guys are a member of TransDash, which is a family of agencies. So we can use that tool to see what other agencies are monitoring this and do some comparisons and benchmarking.
That's the beauty of being in the pilot for this, for the TransDash, if I could say that, is that some of that combined data from across the country, correct me if I'm wrong, Cleveland is part of the pack. I think that's leading some of the metrics that are out of the box, outside of the norm of the traditional scores. So just looking at ridership and the like, we're actually pushing. That was part of the conversation to actually bring the TransDash part of the contract to you as a board to say, hey, we really want to start looking at things from a national perspective that is not just the traditional ridership. And so I would say that those categories and those agencies that would be able to have some of the metrics that we're looking at are probably on the smaller side as far as the numbers. But I would expect that if we're to continue being a part of the TransDash, and we've committed this to TransPro, we've got to start to be able to see similar out-of-the-box thinking by multiple agencies so that we can have that comparison. We cannot simply benchmark against ourselves.
Any further, Mayor Kumar?
Just
We got
through the chair.
Mr. Sleesman, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. It was just to kind of echo the comment that Ms. Welch had about perceptions and to continue that conversation with regard to the safety data. I have no doubt that the police presence is comforting to some of our riders, and I have no doubt that police presence, and by the way, this has nothing to do with our transit police force, I think, to be clear, Chief Jones, I think it has to do more with the history of this country, but there are probably some of our riders who are not comforted in terms of safety by having a police force, and that there may be something else we can do. I don't know the breakdown. I would love to know that, of what would make people perceive more safety at our stops and on our buses. If that is more police, fair enough. But if there are other elements there and other things we can do, I would like us to pursue that as well.
The answer is yes. We can look through and we can always tweak some of the survey questions that we have. We also want to just make sure that we have a kind of, not a year over year, but quarter over quarter analysis so that we're not fluctuating wildly, but we can start to pepper in new questions that we can continue to ask so that we actually have a comparison from quarter to quarter. But things like that could be lighting. It could be time. Some of these data points we already have, so we can probably also bring some of that out to be able to understand what makes someone feel safe versus actually safe. It would be a similar analysis that we had internally about the safe on versus mechanically safe on a bus. So do you feel that the operator is going to get into an accident driving wise versus do you feel that you're going to get robbed on it? That's different. Safety versus security.
And I would say some of that research, you all might want to consider doing on a qualitative level, right? Bringing customers in and sitting down and talking to them in a small group setting to talk to them about safety and what things might improve. Because often on surveys, we're limited in time, we're limited in questioning, but some of that stuff you can kind of bring out through focus groups.
That's essentially my, I guess, either question or point, where the response of having more police presence is either based on qualitative data that I don't have in front of me, or is based on an assumption of what people would like to see. And without more of that depth, we don't know if we're actually helping or if it's just a neutral action that we're engaging in.
Yeah. I think that this is all great. This is great. This is the reason that we have the data, so I appreciate the feedback and just thinking through it. Let us take it back a little bit to the lab, so to speak, and then just go through different scenarios, and we can come back with suggestions. I would actually like to start to engage the CAC on the first assignment to be able to really understand some of this, and maybe we can utilize your great minds over there. I'm seeing the hands and nods, so if I could ask that you kind of hold your questions, and then we can answer those on a separate, because I know we're running a little bit on time. So I do want to make a priority for the board members, but we can kind of go through the data and maybe brainstorm on a way to actually start to engage those focus groups with the help of TransPro. Dare I say this might be interesting to understand if the city has any information like this as far as the SAFE sort of component. There's a lot of agencies in Cleveland that don't have this kind of data. There's a lot of them that want this kind of data. And there are some organizations that have it at a certain level. It might be a great opportunity also for the ad hoc, I don't know if it's a technology group, Mr. Sleesman, but to be able to think about ways to kind of combine that data set to be able to have a community sort of report, you know.
Mayor Weiss?
Just one very quick question. I guess I need to give it a little bit more thought, but this is on the weighting of the goals. To go down to 15% on the financial, I need to give that a little more thought. And part of it is the spread between the highest, which is 40% for the customer experience versus 15 for financial, where if the financials don't stay where they need to be and continue to grow, we can't do any of the other things. So I just think we should think about that and maybe chat a little more about it.
Absolutely. I'm happy to chat with you and explain the thinking behind it. These are the kind of set outcomes. We can also always adjust it and massage a little bit. I would counter that thought, because we did have that thought. Believe you me, Raj had that thought, Kay had that thought. A lot of us had that thought, and we tussled with it quite a bit. What I want the board and what I want the public to remember is that this is an exercise in prioritizing focus. It's not to say that things are not important. If you go back 2 years, we had a lot of different board, different members, but we had a lot of robust conversation about impression of importance. And this is not an exercise in that, but it's an exercise in trying to make sure that we have an area of focus, because we can't do everything at the same time. But the idea that financial sustainability or financial health will never leave this chart is because of what you just said. We have to make sure that we have the funding available to actually do any of this, and we understand that part. But when we come down to looking at all of the data that says there's a perception of safety issue, there's a perception of cleanliness issue, there's a perception of whether or not RTA is a good employer, we have to be able to, and this is my interpretation now, we have to be able to take a stand and say, hey, we've got to start to turn those things around. And if we constantly and continually put our focus in areas that we're already doing well in, to me, that's not exactly the right ingredients to be able to turn those other things around. We've got to make sure that we keep financial health absolutely in good health, but we've got to make sure that we actually turn those other areas around. So if I were to kind of let us off the hook and say, hey, we're going to actually just put financial health as 25 and the other ones retain at the lower numbers, I don't know that we would be able to justify putting our resources toward those areas that actually need that turnaround work. So that's the idea, that we have to keep everything important, but at some point we have to say, hey, we're going to go ahead and campaign to make these things better, and those things that need to get better are in the other areas of customer experience, engagement, and community value.
All right, thank you. That was a lot. Any other questions from our board at this time? Wonderful. A lot of good follow-up questions. Look forward to the next report and further data and input from our citizen team behind me. If nothing further for the committee, I move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, Welch.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The meeting's adjourned at 10:46.
I'd like to call to order the RTA Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee. Teresa, if you could call the roll, please.
Mayor Kumar,
Here.
Ms. Mersman, Mr. Sleesman,
Here.
and Mayor Weiss.
Here.
You have 3 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Great. You see the minutes there. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Second, Mayor Weiss.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the internal audit quarterly report. And we had scheduled a full internal audit committee meeting after the last board meeting. Given the length of that, we truncated that, obviously. And in talking with the executive director, we thought we would give the board a full overview, the more high-level summary. If any of the committee members still want to hold a more in-depth internal audit committee meeting after this presentation, let me know. We can schedule that.
Okay.
But given the fact that time is slipping by and December's busy, having seen this report, they're headed in a good direction. I don't know that's necessary, but I will defer to the board members on that. We have now the internal audit quarterly report, presentation of the third quarter 2023, and we have Executive Director of Internal Audit, Anthony Garofoli, presenting with his staff. And Tony, before you get into the report, I would like you to sort of recognize and highlight some recent promotions in your office.
Thank you, Mayor Kumar, and good morning to the Audit Committee, Reverend Lucas, members of the board. At your request, I'm pleased to announce the promotion to Internal Audit Manager. That's Stephen Zimmerman, who was our lead auditor and now our audit manager after a very robust search and evaluation process. I want to thank the Human Resources Department for that. And with that, behind me is Stephen Zimmerman, and I'm going to ask Stephen to present the quarterly report.
Thank you very much, Tony. Good morning, Chair Kumar, members of the Audit Committee, Board of Trustees, and Executive Management Team. My name is Stephen Zimmerman, and I'm pleased to present the results of the internal audit activities for the third quarter of 2023. Please refer to this report, which was distributed prior to the meeting. My presentation today will be a summary. On pages 3 through 5, you'll find the 2023 internal audit plan that was referred by the Audit Committee to the full board and approved at the March 2023 board meeting. Per our audit professional standards, our audit plan is aligned with the GCRTA strategic plan and performance metrics. We continue to execute our risk-based plan. On pages 6 through 8, please find the results of 4 audit projects that were completed in the third quarter. These include employee travel expense and requests, healthcare and employee dependent eligibility, engineering project controls and project support, and employee hiring practices. We met with management, obtained responses to our recommendations, and released the reports. We'll continue to follow up on all recommendations and ensure they're implemented through our audit management system. At this time, there are no issues for board consideration. On pages 9 through 13, please find the results of our continuous auditing program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time to provide 100% audits of the transactions. Those audits include fare collection, purchasing card transactions, paratransit certification and eligibility, nepotism, and payroll. We shared results with stakeholders, and there are no issues for board consideration. On pages 14 through 16 is a new report section focused on the railcar replacement program per the request of the Audit Committee. We will include the results of our audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. I'll take you on a more detailed review of this section because it's new. At the top of page 14, you'll find the railcar replacement contract project, where we'll provide updates on our activities related to monitoring contract compliance and management controls. Below that, you'll find a table which will hold the various change orders that will be approved over the life of the contract. As of this report date, there are no approved change orders. However, I will direct you to the top of page 15, which lists 3 potential change orders that management is currently processing. Those include a contract option for 6 additional railcars, spare parts including 4 railcar couplers, and a no-cost change in the railcar delivery schedule. Just below that, we'll also be sharing within our report the financial payments made to the railcar contractor. Again, at the point of this report, there have been no payments made at this time. The remainder of this section will include the various projects and initiatives that are in support of the railcar project at the authority. Currently, we have highlighted two, both related to the Federal Transit Administration's project management oversight, but as additional initiatives begin, such as railcar infrastructure modifications, those will fill out in this section of the report. On pages 17 through 25, you'll find 20 projects in various stages of completion. These include projects where we've completed our fieldwork and are awaiting management response prior to releasing the report, as well as projects that are still in progress. We will share the results of these projects at a future audit committee meeting. On page 26 and 27, please find the details and results of 4 special requests and emergent issues. We performed these projects in our role as Inspector General for the GCRTA. They include incompatible employment, salary non-bargaining exempt comp time, mileage reimbursement, and the Transit Police Office of Professional Standards Internal Affairs process for investigations. We will share the results of these investigations with appropriate stakeholders in accordance with our audit charter, and we'll follow up on all outstanding recommendations. On page 28 is our efforts to work with external auditors. The state auditor completed the 2022 financial and single audit and shared the results with the board in June, and the state auditor issued the final report on July 16th of 2023. The Federal Transit Administration completed the triennial review during the first quarter to evaluate compliance, performance, and adherence to current FTA requirements and policies. The review examined 23 areas. The FTA released that final report to management on August 7th of 2023. The remainder of the report is informational. We continue to follow up on all outstanding recommendations to validate that corrective action has been implemented. We participate in various steering committees and meetings to learn and share risk management strategies. Page 32 details the various training that our staff attended during the third quarter, and the final page is the audit profiles. Before I turn it back over to Tony, who has some additional information he wants to share with the board, I'll pause for any questions from the audit committee or board on our quarterly report.
Questions from the committee members or the board? I don't believe there are any, but thank you for the overview. Very complete. I think you highlighted all the pertinent items that we needed to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Tony Garofoli to come back up to finish our presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. Mayor Kumar, for the new board members, I want to let everyone know that between now and our next meeting, which is in February, we're going to be developing our annual 2024 risk-based plan. So if I could read a short passage from our professional standards and our bylaws. In accordance with the Article 9, Section 5 of the bylaws of the RTA and Section 26207 of the codified rules and regulations of the RTA, the Board of Trustees will approve the internal audit plan. Per the Institute of Internal Auditors professional standards, the Chief Audit Executive must establish a risk-based plan to determine the priorities of the internal audit activity consistent with the organizational goals. To develop the risk-based plan, the Chief Audit Executive will consult with senior management and the board to obtain an understanding of the organizational strategies, key business objectives, associated risks, and risk management processes. The Chief Audit Executive must review and adjust the plan as necessary in response to changes in the organization's business risks, operations, programs, systems, and controls. With that, between now and February, we will schedule time with executive leadership and each of the board members to obtain your feedback for consideration for the new board members. Thank you, Mayor Kumar.
Thank you very much. And just from my perspective, we have one pending item under the committee. We did an internal assessment last year, and I know there were some questions from the assessing firm on some board policies, and that sort of tied into some performance standards you have as, you know, from an internal audit perspective. Those are being reviewed nationally. And so Tony and I have been watching that, and as soon as those are completed, I think we're going to go back to those comments from that internal assessment and look at where the professional standards are telling us to go, all organizations to go, and making sure we're in compliance with those. And if there are any changes we need to make to that, we can do those at that time. But I would expect that to probably be in the first quarter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Without that, make sure I got it. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, Mayor Weiss.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here. Here.
Mayor Kumar.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
President Lucas. Ms. McPherson.
Here.
Ms. Mersman. Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
And Ms. Welch.
Here.
We have 8 board members present. You have a quorum. Mr. President, I first advise that notice of this meeting has been posted more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, that the usual notification has been given to news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We're going to skip to one resolution of new, almost sworn in members who have been so kind to stay with us so long. We will go up to resolution 2023. Ask legal opinions they will swear in. Bruce, would you all,
To the chair, would you like me to read the resolution first? Okay. Appointment of 11 members to the Community Advisory Committee.
Move to approve 23-85.
Second.
Aye.
No, you know what? Oh.
That's true. That's true. Good morning. It is still morning. It is indeed a great opportunity for me to be able to swear each of you in as members of the Community Advisory Committee. I will be administering the oath of office to each of you. It's going to be as a group, so there'll be a point at which I will say, please state your name, and you need to just state your name, all right? Great. All right. Please state your name. Excellent. Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that I will honestly, faithfully, and impartially perform the duties required of me as a member of the Community Advisory Committee of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority. Congratulations to each of you, and thank you for your service.
We need another one. Holiday party, are you gonna do that? I'm gonna see the pictures that, oh.
Toya. You want 2 rows?
Maybe they should do 2 rows? You got them in? Okay. We'll squeeze in a little bit more? Yeah, move them in a little more?
We do them right there? Just CAC right there?
Okay, they're coming that way to follow AJ for last paperwork.
We have all CAC members who stand right here in front of the, take one shot here.
I don't know about that. Okay, you want us to sit? Okay, absolutely.
Ready? We're going to sit.
Let us now continue with the agenda. May we have public comments? Anybody here with any public comment? Any public comment? No comments?
In the back, do we have anyone on the line?
We have 2 calls.
Okay.
First of all, we have in person.
In person?
In person. In person.
Hello, Reverend Lucas.
I saw you back there. You weren't moving. What's going on there?
Thank you. Thank you. We took out 2 rail lines and a metal building down there with RTA's permission, scrapped 110 tons of steel, made $55,000, and reinvested all of that money in capital equipment to carry out our mission there, which was to beautify the 2 miles of trackside. And of course, we believe those efforts reduced the cost to build the Greenway by over $2 million. Ultimately, we raised the $6 million to build the Greenway. From 2011 to 2016, I attended every RTA meeting to get this project approved and funded. I'm here today to explain why I think we should preserve the Red Line Greenway and to speak and to ask you to please not approve the plan to build a land bridge at Columbus Road from Abbey to West 25th. The quality of life of the 55,000 men, women, and children who live near the Greenway depend on it remaining a place they can walk, run, recreate, explore, or relax. A place they can get their first exposure to nature or a respite from the hustle and bustle of the city. For 43 years, thousands of volunteers gave their time and treasure to make this 2-mile section of trackside a better place, a place the city, its residents, volunteers, and RTA can be proud of, a place many visitors who take the train from the airport get their first impression of our city. Over $6 million was recently invested to preserve this green space as a greenway that everyone can enjoy, a place that also serves as a multimodal form of transportation, putting RTA at the forefront of urban transportation policy. We have all worked hard to make Cleveland the green city on a blue lake, a place people want to come to visit, stay, and live in. We created a place with a higher quality of urban life than has ever been known before, with our unique combination of places to be entertained, eat, recreate, and live. This precious balance has taken years to create, has built pride in our community, and is worth saving. There are numerous other sites along the Red Line that are better suited for TOD. For example, a new station could be built at Fulton Road, which would enhance ridership far more and create significant growth in that area while allowing underserved residents trail access they currently do not enjoy. In conclusion, I ask that the board respect the 43 years of volunteers who partnered with RTA to make the Columbus Road site the incredible place it is today and the wonderful linear park we are planning for it to become. Over 10,000 new residents have moved near the Greenway since it was announced, and thousands more are coming. Let's preserve the green space they deserve and so desperately need, especially for the children who have no way to voice their love and need for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else here in person? All right, and on the line. Anyone on the line, Tracy?
I believe we have 2 callers, correct, in the back?
Caller 0387, you're on the line.
This is Eric Stewart. The man that just spoke should have been given some additional time, and you should be asking him some questions because he gave you some quality information that's directly related to what you claim that you want to do, better serve the public. I wish he had been given more time. I'm calling today to speak to the Community Advisory Committee members. You should have an email from me. My name is Eric Stewart. Albert Johnson said he was going to pass over to you for you to consider and study so that we could get some routes put back in place and some other routes be moved in their correct positions. In addition to that, I sent the email to Deidre McPherson, Stephen Love, and the members that were appointed recently by Mayor Bibb. I have not received any acknowledgement at all. I'm talking about the Board of Trustees at this point. Any acknowledgement at all that you received them or read them. That would help with customer service, customers being more involved in RTA. It would acknowledge things that are sent to you that are directly related to policy and moving the routes in place. In reference to India Birdsong's Perry's comments about her percentages that she seems to just completely rely on, if you really want the public to understand what you're talking about, you should give the numbers that the percentages are based on. This is my 31st time coming to a Board of Trustees member meeting. I repeatedly say that to you, and you repeatedly blow it off like it's not important because you're more invested in putting out the percentages as opposed to putting the actual numbers that the percentages are based on so that the public will actually know what you're talking about and then put trust in you. That is the problem. In addition to that, I also want to mention that this same email that was circulated to the new Community Advisory Committee members and the Board of Trustee members about these routes that I've been talking about, 48A to 15A to 50 to 15 and the number 11, has been pushed around for like the last 31 appearances, and no one's acknowledged that this was a study, and the study is correct. And compared to the one that you claim that you did, but you haven't shown any evidence that you did a study on this matter. This is concerning. This is very concerning. So I'm going to say to you one last time to the Board of Trustees meeting for this day anyway, if you want the public to be more invested in RTA, which I question whether you do or not, then you should respect when the public sends you something that's concrete evidence that leads to overwhelming evidence or proof of something that should be done for the best interest of the public. Get up off of the percentages and put the numbers in place that the percentages are based on. I wish I knew the name of this man that came in from out of town today that spoke with you, because I sure would like to have him have my email address so he could see what's really going on with you, the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, and these Board of Trustee meetings that you have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stewart. Can we have the next caller?
The next call will be from 2137. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Chris Martin, City of Cleveland. I tuned in late today, so sorry. I have a kind of some random notes, and then hopefully I'm going to leave you all with something of a positive note and a plan. So like I said, I tuned in late. I just wanted about the customer service stuff, specifically about the riders wanting to feel safe while waiting for the bus. or train while waiting for transit, and about being safe on transit. I think your solution to the solution is not more cops. I mean, that's obvious. Thank you, trustees Sleesman and Welch, for trying to get to that point. But the solution, the actual solution, is to make buses come more frequently. If people make the trains come more frequently, if folks are feeling unsafe waiting for transit, make them wait less time. And then similarly, this will have a positive feedback loop with buses and trains coming more frequently. More people will take it, and then you'll have more eyes on the bus and on the train, and that will help people feel more safe. See how it's a positive feedback loop. On the transit data generally, I know like Cleveland Municipal Public Transit has for a very long time called on RTA to post more of its data on a publicly accessible website, like a data dashboard, like many transit agencies do. I guess I just want to echo that call once again. Transit data being available to the public would be a really good thing. I want to say congratulations to the Community Advisory Committee members. I see lots of familiar faces there. I want to give a special shout out to my fellow South of Lorraine Block Club member I saw get sworn in today. And speaking of being South of Lorraine, I do live on Monroe Avenue, just west of Columbus. I'm very near this proposed transit-oriented development. You know, honestly, I'm not sure where I stand, but I am certainly skeptical of Ari Marin, so for whatever that's worth. Now, my positive note in my plan. You've got an HQ contract coming up in July for renewal, and you've got a lot of new leadership on the Board of Trustees, as well as you'll soon have new leadership at the HQ local. So let's solve the operator shortage. I really appreciated Trustee Mersman's question a couple of weeks ago, confirming that operator shortage is what's preventing y'all from increasing frequencies right now. So let's envision the transit we want to see and figure out a funding plan to get us there. I mean, your strategic plan and your climate action plan both call for going to the ballot next year. Are you ready to do that? And if not, why not?
Caller 2137, your time is up.
Okay.
You know, personally, I offer my help.
We can end the call.
As a member of
thank
the
you for your time,
Democratic
sir.
Mr. Martin.
Committee and the Executive Committee.
Do we have any more callers on the line?
We do not have any more callers at this point in time. Actually, yep.
All right. Any on the web?
We do have 2 comments. Would you like me to read those?
Highlight it, yeah.
Okay. Both of the comments are in opposition to the resolution 2023-94. One was from Laura McShane of Cleveland, and one was from Mr. Sam McNulty. They're both in opposition. The detailed comments will be sent to the board.
All right. On items 6 through 13, any committee or chairman have any announcements? Any? All right. Very good. Introduction of new employees. Mr. Fields. Where's your assistant this month? Oh,
So
kind of like that assistant.
I understand she will be back for the next board meeting.
Well, that'll be good. Not that we don't like looking at you, of course.
I understand how that could be.
Handsome young man.
Good morning, President Reverend Lucas, Ms. Birdsong Terry, members of the board. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our November new hires and promotions. We'll start with our new hires. We have operators Tamara McNeely, Naquana Wilson, Shantae Goldson, LaPriest Wells, Jamar Palmer, Carvel Douglas. Shamay Tompkins, Lynette Minter, Wahida Hardwick, Kimberly King, John Tyson, Tracy Thompson, Luis Capellas, Kashida Rivers, Sierra Hainsworth Mount, Ronald Gibbs, Ernest Pickett, David Wise, Sean Thompson, Elise Martin Pollard, Danielle Lawson, Charles Fryer, Katisha Williams, Anthony Rose. We have paratransit operators Sean Talley, Ryan Wilbon, equipment servicer Matt Grabowski. Some more new hires here. Dawn Sanvekara, Contract Administrator 2. Rosalind Robertson, Contract Administrator 1. Cecilia DeGraffenfried, Associate Counsel. Deron Brown, Hostler. Robert Blue, Janitor. Stan Hayward, Janitor. Renard Holloman, Laborer. Colin Yanis, Labor. Now for our promotions. Stephen Zimmerman, Manager of Audit, who Mr. Garofoli introduced earlier. Tariq Muhammad, Business Operations Administrator 2. Thomas Allen, Budget Management Analyst 2. Wendy Fine, Budget Management Analyst 2. Brian Zoncha, Assistant Equipment Supervisor. Meghna Bima Vavaramakupu, Business Operations Administrator 2. Nicole Dixon, Service Quality Coordinator. Jerry Edwards, Service Quality Coordinator. Shanti Williams, Service Quality Coordinator. Dylan Frank and Mathis Wright, Signal Technicians. Kenneth Wilson, Paratransit Equipment Group Leader. John McGurvey and James Parasolik, Rail Equipment Electricians. Reagan Roberts Jr., Dispatcher Paratransit. Kevin Epps, Hostler. Charles Cummings Jr., Labor, Safety Sensitive. Grant Kirsch, Construction Engineer 2, and Mitchell Wondolowski, Construction Engineer 2. Mr. President, members of the board, please join me in congratulating these new hires and promotions. That concludes my report.
If I may, President Lucas, just wanted to give a quick comment. We do have, I believe, if you go back 2 slides, George. One more.
Both of them are here.
The one that has the legal. One more.
Yeah, Shashelia.
There we go, Shashelia. You are in the room, in the house here. If you would raise your hand for me, we're going to embarrass you. Welcome to the team. That's the beauty of having our general counsel to text me, say so-and-so. Straight ahead here, behind your computer.
Well, stand up. We can't see you. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure if anyone else is in the room that I might have missed, Stephen, congratulations to you again. We just wanted to say welcome and congratulations. I've been able to meet with most folks in the hallway or otherwise and state congratulations. I just wanted to also note for the board, you see quite a bit of promotions going on. That's a lot of activity. That is parcel in part due to some of the reconfigurations in our departments to be able to also recognize those that have been kind of superstars in our departments and also adjusting for succession planning. A lot of the work that has been talked about and our need to be able to kind of push ahead with a lot of these programs also opens up the opportunity for HR to be able to meet with different deputies and also think about how we're going to be able to accomplish these things down the road. So we are looking, you'll see a lot of 1, 2, 3 positions. That also accounts for a lot of the succession planning that we are creating within these divisions and these departments as we continue to grow. We realize that we can't just operate how we used to and still come up with new programs and programs upon programs. We've got to make sure that we have the staff available to do so. And as we continue to do that, we've realized we have a lot of diamonds in the rough. So I just wanted to say congratulations to all those that have been newly promoted and all of those that have joined the RTA family. Thanks, George.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, an executive session has been requested to consider the purchase of property for public purchases on the sale of property of competitive bidding. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second Welch.
All right, call the roll.
Mayor Biassiata. Mayor Kumar.
Yes.
Mr. Love.
Yes.
President Lucas.
Yes.
Ms. McPherson.
Yes.
Ms. Mercer is not here. Mr. Sleesman.
Yes.
Mayor Weiss.
Yes.
And Ms. Welch.
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and none opposed.
Here we go.
Whenever you guys are ready.
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn executive session. Is there a second?
Second Welch.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Biassiata is gone. Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Mr. Love?
Yes.
President Lucas?
Yes.
Ms. McPherson? Yes. Mr. Sleesman?
Yes.
Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
And Ms. Welch?
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and none opposed.
I think we're back in session to you.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to the resolutions. B.
All right. Authorizing contract number 2023-99 with Northeast Ohio Trenching Service Incorporated for Project 18.92, East 115th and Superior Eastbound Health Line Station rehabilitations as specified in an amount not to exceed $138,900. RTA Capital Fund, Engineering and Project Development Department budget.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. As I've stated every time, we're not moving quickly. We're moving because we've already had these 2 committee meetings and staff meetings, et cetera, et cetera. 2023-87.
Authorizing contract number 2023-100 with Schindler Elevator Corporation to provide elevator and escalator maintenance and repair services for a base period of 3 years in an amount not to exceed $2,980,356 with 2 one-year options in amounts not to exceed $1,049,891 and $1,077,427 respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $5,107,674 for a period of 5 years. General Fund, Service Management Department budget.
You've heard that. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-88.
Authorizing the exercise of an option under contract number 2021-125 with Siemens Mobility Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of up to 6 high-floor light rail vehicles at a unit price of $5,166,336 for an amount not to exceed $30,998,016. RTA Development Fund, Fleet Management Department budget.
A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I would love to call the roll so I could vote 3 times on this. And I'll just say, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 23-89.
To amend the fiscal year 2023 revenues and appropriations as adopted and resolution number 2022-113 to provide for an increase in the appropriation for the law enforcement fund in an amount of $60,000.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second Welch.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-90.
Removing section 644.07, temporary salary adjustment, 644.08, healthcare coverage, 644.09, prior service credit, and 644.13, tuition reimbursement from the codified rules and regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority as duplicates of personnel policies 400.07, 400.08, 400.09, and 400.13.
23-91.
We have to vote.
I'm sorry. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
We did a
Oh,
motion
no.
and a second to the chair.
I'm sorry.
Move.
Let me get back.
Second.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Oh, no, thank you. I'll slow down. 23-91.
Removing section 648.01, smoke-free workplace, 648.04, employee assistance program, 648.06, biennial physical examination requirements, 648.08, driver's license requirements, 648.09, safety belt usage, 648.10, hazardous waste, and 648.11, workplace violence from the codified rules and regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority as duplicates of personnel policies 600.01, 600.04, 600.06, 600.08, 600.09, 600.10, and 600.11.
We have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-92.
Removing section 646.01 holidays, 646.03 bereavement leave, 646.04 sick leave, 646.05 extended disability coverage, 646.06 jury duty, 646.07 military reserve leave, 646.08 unpaid leaves of absence, and 646.09 family and medical leave from the codified rules and regulations of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority as duplicates of personnel policies 500.01, 500.03, 500.04, 500.05, 500.06, 500.07, 500.08, and 500.09.
Really ought to make you do those 500s again, but if we have a motion?
Sorry, Twisters.
So moved.
A second? Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. 2023-93.
Authorizing an agreement with the City of Shaker Heights for landscape maintenance and parking lot snow removal for a period of 1 year, beginning January 1st, 2024, in an amount not to exceed $290,735.52, General Fund, Programming and Planning Department budget.
A motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second Welch.
Any discussion? We're going to have a roll call on this one.
Okay. Mayor Biassiatti has left. Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
President Lucas,
Yes.
Ms. McPherson.
Yes.
Ms. Mayor Smith is not here. Mr. Sleesman,
Yes.
Mayor Weiss,
Abstain.
and Ms. Welch.
Yes.
We have 6 ayes and 1 abstention. It passes.
Thank you. 2023-94.
Authorizing the General Manager, Chief Executive Officer to execute the First Amendment to the Development and Use Agreement with APJUC LLC and Ohio Limited Liability Company.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, we have, ask for a motion, for a roll call on this as well.
Okay. Mayor Kumar,
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
President Lucas,
Yes.
Ms. McPherson, Mr. Sleesman,
Yes.
Mayor Weiss,
Yes.
and Ms. Welch.
Yes.
We have 7 ayes and none opposed. It passes.
All right. The Secretary Treasurer is waving to us that he's going to start with I.
Good afternoon, President Lucas, members of the board. My name is Raj Gautam. I am the Deputy General Manager of Finance and the Board's Secretary Treasurer, here to present the October Secretary Treasurer update. As has been the norm, we'll review the economic conditions under which we're operating. As we all know, in June 2022, the rate of inflation hit 9.1%. Since then, it has been on a steady decline. At the end of October 2023, inflation came at 3.2%, lower than the 3.7% in September 2023. The Federal Reserve raised interest rates again back in July, raising them to 5.5%. The Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, met on November 1, deciding to keep the target rate at 5.5%. They are scheduled to meet December 13th to discuss further interest rate action. As we all know, interest rates are now at the highest level in 22 years. Ridership data that is presented on this slide goes back to the pre-pandemic 2019 at 27.06 million rides. On a year-to-date basis, for 2023, we're 18.22 million rides. That is 8.84 million rides lower, 32.7%. The October ridership was up 14% when compared to October 2022. October passenger fare revenue, 53.5% below October 2022. This is largely a result of a timing issue. student fare cards in October 2022, the CMSD payment, et cetera, accounting for that decline. So it's, as I said, it's a timing issue. When we look at the upper right-hand corner, the year-to-date passenger fares in millions, pre-pandemic 2019 were 32.39 million. On a year-to-date basis through the end of October in 2023, it is 22.93 million, which is 9.46 million lower, or 29.2%. Sales tax has remained very strong throughout the year. On a year-to-date basis, we are up 3%. That's nearly $7 million higher than 2022 numbers. 15 of the 23 categories were positive in November 2023 when you compare it to November 2022. Online sales were 8.1% higher. Regular and statewide sales were 2.9% higher. Motor vehicles and watercraft, however, were 8.3% lower. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you as always. Excellent report.
My pleasure.
The General Manager is going to give us a synopsis.
Okay, I'll be very brief. I'll fly through some of these slides here. Giving you a quick update for the month of November. Wanted to say thank you for the service and recognition of our veterans. We had the Week of Honor for November 6th through 11th. This is basically our communication plans to our veterans that serve at RTA. I'll let you peruse that at your leisure, but again, we wanted to say thank you for those that have served and being able to protect our life and limb here in the United States. We appreciate you. Also wanted to say that we are going to be launching our Engage RTA revamp for our webpage. We're super excited about this. For board members, you received last week a beta test link for that. Hopefully you were able to give us a little bit of feedback and take a few minutes to peruse it. Shout out to the marketing team and to the IT division. They did a great job at working collaboratively together to really be able to have a little bit of a facelift to our website here. We wanted to make it easier for folks to request services, whether it's a special event, support, sponsorship, whatever the issue is, and also take a look at our Transit Police, Community Watch, travel training courses, recruitment and hiring. There's a plethora of initiatives that we have on site. It's just a lot easier to navigate and just plainly looks a lot prettier than we used to have. So we appreciate where we came from, but this has been a great improvement to our visibility to the community. We will be sending out a press release at the conclusion of this meeting to have it available for the public. Also wanted to give you just a quick advisory. It's always a little awkward for me to talk about myself, but I have been honored by the YWCA of Greater Cleveland as one of their Women of Achievement for the class of 2024. That should be held on May 30th at Severance Hall. This is particularly important to me because it's not an easy category to be considered for, especially given the newness that I have here in Cleveland over the last 4.5 years. So I appreciate the support of the community and the YWCA in recognizing the achievements of RTA. Also wanted to say thank you to our apprentices and our training and operational folks. We did have the Apprenticeship Week. It was a national kind of recognition week, November 13th through 19th. And so we wanted to make sure that you understood some of the apprentice programs that we have available here. So you see the listing: rail car, bus operator, mechanic, bus mechanic and operator mentoring. We also have a lot of other positive programs with partnership with the ATU Local 268. So shout out to William Nix and his team leading the charge. We appreciate them. It's not very often that you have a transit authority that has checked the box in all of those apprentice programs. Speaking of which, the Positive Impact Program, the Operator Mentoring Program, this is being led specifically by Nick Bigger, our district director at Hayden, and all of the directors have kind of jumped on that bandwagon under the leadership of Doc Caver as our deputy for operations, to be able to really talk about retaining our operators and making them feel like they are, and our employees at large, making them feel like they have someone to talk to. It's not just the manager, but also their colleague and counterpart. We actually hosted the ATU, the Amalgamated Transit Union, for the International International. Representatives came on November 17th. We sat here and had a lot of heart-to-hearts. There were a lot of wet eyes in the authority that day, giving stories of personal achievement. We also had representatives from the Federal Transit Administration, Region 5. We appreciate them. It reached the ears of the administrator, so she sent down a representative from Chicago. And then also the International Transportation Learning Center, TLC, our counterparts in DC. And we also had representatives from the training and operational divisions from the Toledo Area Transit Authority, Central Ohio, Columbus Transit Authority, and the Bi-State Development, also known as Metro in St. Louis. So great opportunity for engagement. It was just really a fantastic day, and Triscuit hosted us back out at the district. So thank you, Oliver Draper, and your team for that as well. Also wanted to give you a quick update on the employee resource groups. As I mentioned earlier in the traction presentation, we took it really seriously that we need to make sure that our employee investment kind of area is really bolstered over the next year and ongoing into the future. So part of this is why you see a lot of these positive impact stories and see a lot of this reinvestment in our employees. Part of it is the ERGs. You'll see 3 t-shirts that we actually worked through with Brokaw, who's across the street. They handle our advertising. They did focus groups alongside the ERG leadership in our marketing division and came up with these. They took votes, and I really like all 3 of them. I did withhold my own vote. So this was a employee-led initiative. So you have Elevating Women Together, our female sort of resource group, Latinos Unidos, our Latinx resource group, and then our Pride ERG, which is our LGBTQ plus resource group. We really are super excited, and we are working on a concept for the Veterans t-shirt. So great job to you guys on that. Also wanted to give you an update on the holiday trolley. If you have not caught that yet, please be on the lookout. This is the appearance list, the roster that takes you through December leading up to the Christmas holiday. Fantastic job by the folks at CBM on that. They were super excited. I did have an opportunity to walk it when I was out doing the district tours, and you could just tell there's a lot of pride in that. That team was just fantastic. Jeff Adams and team, Dan Dietrich, wonderful, wonderful job. We even had the Christmas Story lamp that you can see on site, and they went with the blue theme this year. So Sharon, fantastic for marketing, great job. Also the holiday district visits, these are a couple photos. You'll see me talking with our teams out at the districts. We still have a few to go. This was at Woodhill and CBM, Central Bus Maintenance. Paratransit is up next this week, and we'll continue into December visiting locations and just being able to get out and talk to everybody. With that, that concludes my presentation unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent report. Give her a cheer. That's a beautiful report. You've been hearing from me all through the meeting, so I can skip down to any old business, any old business, any new business. All right, public comments. Anyone here in person? Public comment. Our newest sworn-in member. You don't get to make public comments anymore, didn't you know?
I know, but good morning, good afternoon, everybody. But this time I have to make urgent comments. It's also due to our presentation in the previous committee meetings. GCRTA, I believe we take riders' experience as the reflection of how dedicated we actually are in this public service industry. However, there are lots of things are out of GCRTA's own control. So for example, today I was very late because City of Cleveland did not really respond to this snow in time. So GCRTA's all the fixed route buses also got heavily impacted. We had a system redesign, but number 9, which is the closest one for me to take to come to downtown, unfortunately, even it has been moved to about like a 30 minutes frequency, both buses during the hour 8 to 9 a.m. did not show. So in this case, I was kind of stranded because our system redesign could only shift all the resources to business, healthcare facilities, and lots of the retail business. We couldn't really cover residential areas or any neighborhood with more people with their residents in. Myself, I'm homeless, unhoused, stay in the homeless shelter on Payne Avenue. So number 9 is the only one. Or I had to go through all the snow, which the city of Cleveland couldn't plow in time, to go to Euclid Avenue to take a health line. This is the reason why it took me 90 minutes to come here, including waiting for the buses, 1 hour in the cold. I think GCRTA, we can offer better services to reconsider how we build shelters, bus shelters for people. The other important thing I think we should resume is the text message to deliver the service disruptions. This will be very beneficial because in the past, when we had the service, lots of people were very happy with it, and they will be able to plan their trip to go to work or go to school or to go to doctor's appointment better. This situation today we had also affected paratransit riders a lot as well. So I think GCRTA, we should work on collaborating with the city, not only city of Cleveland, with all other cities in the Cuyahoga County to make sure they can properly maintain the roads. So GCRTA, we could deliver the service we actually intend and prepared to deliver. Hopefully, 2024, we will have a brighter year. Let's go. Thank you.
Anyone else here in person? Come on.
Hi, my name is Abigail Altoff. I work with TK Elevator. I don't know if this is the right way to ask this. I don't know if you'd be able to elaborate your selection for the elevator and escalator maintenance services on why you chose Schindler, and if there was anything that I guess stood out to you that you're allowed to share.
Actually, if I could defer to our Director of Procurement, Melinda D'Angelo, who can advise on next steps and comment offline.
Yeah, I can speak to you after the meeting about the process. It's still in the process. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anybody else here? Anybody else here? All right, maybe we go to the telephone.
In the back, do we have any calls online?
We do have 2. First caller, 0387. You can go ahead.
Okay, so this is Eric Stewart. Here are some perfect examples of what I've been talking about to you people. I just spoke with somebody named Alice. She answered the customer service line at 621-9500, 216-621-9500. And when I called that number, there was the option for me to push number 1 prior to talking to Alice and getting my question answered. And that number 1 was for the purpose of me doing your survey. I asked Alice my question. She answered my question. I asked another question. She answered the question, and the call was disconnected. The survey, I had no access to the survey that you claim exists. Prior to that, at 11:31, I called that same number, went through the same process, talked to David. David answered my question. After the question was done, said, thank you, the call was disconnected. No access to the survey. At 11:27, I called, spoke with David. He answered the question. After that was done, the call was disconnected. No access to the survey. I asked 3 people this morning in the 8 o'clock hour, and they did. 2 of them did it right in front of me. Call that number, 216-621-9500, to see if you get access to the survey. 3 different calls, 8 o'clock hour, from 3 different numbers. None of them had access to the survey. However, 6 months ago, India Perry, LaToya Minor, and Charles Lucas, you were all praising the survey. And I told you on that day, the survey does not work. There's no access to it. It still doesn't work. It's November. In addition to that, today was our first rough snow day in the city. This would be a good opportunity for all you Board of Trustees members that can do it, including your Community Advisory Committee members that can do it. Look and see how hard it is for somebody who might be elderly or having some other kind of issue to walk from Tri-City East up to Pinecrest where there's 61 stores.
I'm sorry,
then
but your
ask
time
the
is up.
question, why don't you put the 15A in so that they could get here?
We have one more call. Caller 2137, you can go ahead.
Yeah, Chris Martin, City of Cleveland again. I just wanted to finish presenting my plan. I apologize, I'm probably going to repeat a little bit myself. My plan, again, is to solve the operator shortage, increase ridership, create more safety and security, and save Northeast Ohio and the planet. So you have, again, you've got the HCU 268 contract coming up in July, I believe, with new leadership on the Board of Trustees there in the room, and at soon at Local 268, you'll have new leadership as well. So as you are negotiating that contract, let's focus on solving the operator shortage. Let's do whatever we need to do to get more folks in our buses, operating our buses and operating our trains. Let us envision the transit we want to see and figure out a funding plan to get us there. And again, you do have in your strategic plan and in your climate action plan a goal of finding funding to get more service, get more buses on the street, get more trains on the track. But I have not seen any public action to advance towards those goals. So my offer of help as a member of the Central Committee of the Democratic Party of Cuyahoga County and as a member of the Executive Committee of that body, is I will help ally Democratic Party to a funding campaign.
Caller, you have 10 seconds.
We've got foundations. They need to fund the campaigns. Mayor, talk to the first suburbs.
I'm sorry, caller 2137, we're out of time.
Well,
We have no more callers today.
Anything on the web?
No more comments on the web forum.
Thank you very much. Next regular board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November the 19th, 2023, the boardroom of the Authority, McBride Building, 1240 West 6th Street. The meeting will be live streamed, or you can come in person. We're glad to see you. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
No debate on that? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and thank you, board members, for your patience today.